Good morning. Hi, I thought we'd make a start. It's 11 o'clock and we won't run on blackfella time today. But Uncle Colin couldn't be here today, he's not well, and he's asked me to do the acknowledgement. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today, of the Wurundjeri people and the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders here, past, present and emerging. Today we're going to, first of all I'll introduce myself. I'm Denise McGuinness. I'm Wiradjuri, Gunditjmara, Jar Jar, Wurrong and Yorta Yorta. And I've been asked just to open today and introduce Auntie Chrissy Charles for the tribute to Uncle Jack Charles. So we'll bring up Auntie Chrissy up now. Hang on. At least it's good weather, eh, today? Not as hot as yesterday. Right, Aunt? Here, look. Please welcome Auntie Chrissy Charles.
Welcome everybody today on this beautiful day. We're celebrating music, happiness, Uncle Jack, as he always, when he could, come to these events to start it off. So I hope you all enjoy today. It's going to be beautiful. And I'll be always remembering Jack, what he had done for the community, for family, for friends, everyone, even around the world. He was an icon. He was an activist. He had his beliefs, the prisons that he had passion for. So I'm here to keep him alive. Yous are here to keep him alive. So may it all begin. Thank you.
Thanks, Aunt. Here we go. I'd like to introduce you to Cerulean.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi everybody.
Got your own mic there, don't need this one.
Go on. Hi everybody. My name is Cerulean. I am Miss First Nations 2021. And okay, thank you. And yeah, I'd just like to pay tribute to Uncle Jack because he was such an important part of the community, part of the LGBTQIA+ community, and I feel like that aspect of his life also needs to be celebrated and put forward because it was such an inspiration for a lot of us First Nations mob, you know, us doing drag, us being in the theatre world, because that's what we do in drag, like it's essentially theatre. So Uncle Jack, being that gorgeous face that he was everywhere, really, I guess, helped myself and a lot of other young queer mob find ourselves and our queerness as well. I worked a lot with Uncle Jack. I used to work for a theatre company named Melbourne that toured his work, Jack vs. the Crown, I think, was that it? Yeah. And yeah, he was such a deadly man. We used to walk along Smith Street and he used to tell stories about, you know, all the old like medical centers and everything around the place, and he's such a gorgeous soul and an inspiration to all of us. So yeah, big up Uncle Jack.
Thank you. Now we're going to welcome to the stage for some more tributes for Uncle Jack, Patrice, Goldie and Frankie. Please make them feel welcome.
everyone, my name is Frankie Mazzoni. I'm a 15-year-old transgender actor and activist. I too would like to acknowledge that we are on what always was and always will be Aboriginal land. We'll all remember Uncle Jack as a highly respected elder, proud member of the LGBTQIA+ community, an actor, musician, potter, gifted performer, and leading black light in his community. I was fortunate enough to be able to MC his live show, A Night with Uncle Jack, for the last 6 years. Within that time, I learnt so much from him. He was an incredible mentor, role model, and family friend. I'm so grateful to have had a queer elder in my life. He showed me how amazing and beautiful it is to be queer. He taught me that no matter what, I should always be true to myself, and he always made sure to have my back. In a time where the trans community were really hurting, especially trans youth, when we were being picked on by the media left, right, and centre, he put 2 trans kids to the front of his stage, myself and Zayn Khan. He made it very clear that he would always accept us for us, and I'm very grateful for that. I feel very honoured to be on the same Midsummer stage that he was on last year, and I feel very grateful to be in Collingwood Fitzroy where he spent most of his time. Thank you, Uncle, for everything.
Hello, my name is Patrice Capagreco. I use she, her pronouns, and I too would like to acknowledge that we're on stolen land. Uncle Jack was an elder, a member of the stolen generation, an actor, an activist, and a very proud member of the LGBTQIA+ community. I had the honour of being Uncle Jack's manager for over 12 years. Being Uncle Jack's manager was the best job in the world, but it was more than just a job. Uncle Jack was family to me and my 2 daughters, Frankie and Goldie. Uncle Jack was so happy and proud of Frankie when she came out. I remember the first time Frankie emceed Uncle Jack's show as Frankie at the Malthouse Theatre. Uncle Jack was beaming with pride on stage. He was so happy to see Frankie finally being able to be Frankie. Not long after that show, we did another show up in Hillsville with Uncle Jack and Uncle Kutcher Edwards. For anyone who's been to one of a Night with Uncle Jack shows, you would know that at intermission, we invite the audience to write down a question for Uncle Jack, and he would answer the questions in the second half of the show. During that Hillsville show, someone had written a question for Uncle Jack that said, "Can you talk about Auntie Vicky Lido?" When Uncle Jack and Uncle Kutcher heard the question, the 2 of them looked at each other and were noticeably surprised by the question. The 2 uncles went on to speak about how Auntie Vicky had always had their back and protected many of the young ones down on Gertrude Street and along the Smith Street Strip. Uncle Jack told stories of how Auntie Vicky had looked after them during some of his sentences in Pentridge. Turns out Auntie Vicky was an Aboriginal trans woman that had been sentenced to Pentridge at the same time as Uncle Jack. Uncle Jack explained to the crowd that Auntie Vicky had always listened to her spirit and was always true to herself. After the show, Uncle Jack and Uncle Kutcher sat Frankie down backstage. They wanted to explain to her the significance of that question being asked. We never actually knew who asked that question, but the uncles explained to Frankie that it was Auntie Vicky coming to them from a higher place, and as uncles they had a responsibility to let Frankie know to never ignore that spirit inside her. I remember Uncle Jack saying to Frankie, "You have to listen to your spirit and just be you." I wanted to share that story today because it's a great reminder to all of us to just be us. And this is just one example of Uncle Jack taking time out to help others. And I know many of you would have seen him along his Smith Street Strip at Roses or Friends of the Earth, or maybe hooning along on his scooter. He always had time to stop and check in and make sure you were okay. Uncle Jack would be so proud to know that Midsummer, VICPRIDE, and the beautiful community here today are paying tribute to him and the significant role he played in this community. We are all feeling the loss of Uncle Jack and miss him terribly, especially Auntie Chrissy and the family, but days like today are such a wonderful reminder of how far and wide Uncle Jack made a difference. Thank you, have a great day.
Thank you. I too want to share my memories of Uncle Jack. I work at the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service, And one day I was there in the waiting room and these detectives come in and they were marching Uncle Jackie out the door. And I went up there and said, hey, what are you doing? He's an hour to pull up. And what I didn't know, that he was a cat burglar. Yeah, that he had warrants. And that because he looked so sweet and innocent, he looked like a little character, eh? And he come in real happy one time telling me that he got the part of, in a Peter Pan movie. He's real rapt. And that scooter used to, hey, everywhere you go, you look around, there's Uncle Jackie. My daughter went to Perth and she rang up and she goes, guess who's here, Mum? It was Uncle Jackie. He was sitting at the MCG, looked up, Uncle Jackie's in the ad. Like, yeah, he just popped up everywhere. It's like the Fox Fugitive. But back when they used to have, what were they? You know, the Walkmans with the tape, where you put the tape in. And my son was going on a camp and Uncle Jackie come in, he goes, has your son got everything for the camp? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, he might need a Walkman. And I thought he went and bought it out of his own pocket. But it was a hot night and he said all those fellas down in Kew and Toorak will have their windows open. He brought it back the next day, darling. And he was such a mentor and he just led by example. And he was part of the Soul Gen, and that's why I want to mention that, because a lot of the Aboriginal families, they got to meet their families in Fitzroy. Fitzroy is such a significant place, and we've got the Yalangoof app where you'll hear a lot of them stories. You'll hear Uncle Jackie's story, Uncle Archie's, many elders that have passed, and they're just yarns. Patrice said before about Auntie Vicky Liddy. I heard yarns about Auntie Vicky Liddy. People used to come into the Builder's Arms down the road there and try and start on her, and she'd give it to them with the handbag, She was from Darwin, Auntie Vicky Liddy. Yeah, she was like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And the park is, my uncle used to be the king of the park here, and they used to all drink there in that little square there. And they was all chucking in, you know, for some grog one day, and it was when that eclipse was around, you know, when the moon or something passes the sun. And this gubbar fella, this white person, was there, and he goes, hey, look at the eclipse, and all the silly black fellas looked up, and when they looked up, hey, he took off with the money. They chased him like Kathy Freeman. So I'd like to tell you a bit about myself. First of all, I'll tell you about Yalangoof, how it's only just started. It's an app and you can download it with the QR code, It's free, but if you download it, we'll take money. No, we don't. It's won about 3 international awards already, and it's very important. Like we lost a lot of elders last year, you know, all the ones that are turning 80, some lucky to reach 90. Like my family's lucky to reach 40. That's the life expectancy. But yeah, so download that. You'll see all the stickers there, and yeah, I'm a single mother, 3 children. I raised my kids on my own. Their father was never involved, so we call him the donor. A lot of friends were asking if I was coming out here today. I came out when I was 30. I thought they already knew. My son Robert is a very talented dancer. He was running late here today. He gets his moves from his mother, not the donor. And I've always tried to encourage him to go to Naista in Sydney, letting him know that his room's always there. He goes, no, Mum, I'm going to Los Angeles. I said, oh, yeah, someone funding your trip. He goes, no, I'm saving. Judging from the fines on my kitchen bench, Rob can't save enough for a Met ticket next week. But as parents, we should support our children's dreams. I know I do. I let him sleep to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My daughter Chantal presented me with my first grandchild 13 years ago, and she already had the names picked out for a boy or girl, and she goes, Mum, what about Eli? I said, yeah, I like it, but what about when the visitors come and they ask, where's the baby? Eli down. And she had another one, a little boy, and he looked like a little Asian, darling, because we have got Asians in the family, so I'm allowed to talk about Asians. Don't think I'm racist. But, yeah, he looked, yeah, I said, you sure you picked up the right one or the wrong one? But Eli, he has autism. He's very verbal, he can talk, and he's just strict in his ways, like with a list and, you know, got to do things in order. And I used to take him swimming lessons. And he goes, on the way home, he goes, Nan, you must be getting lonely now. It's time for you to get another dog, because we had to put our family dog down a few months before. I said, no, Eli, I'm right. I've got you boys. And he goes, oh, hang on a minute. There goes my phone. I've got two phones here. I go, Eli, I couldn't go through that again, you know. Nan had a breakdown over Mickey. He goes, don't worry, Nan, you won't have to. By the time this dog gets old, you would have passed away. He goes, when are you passing away? I said, I don't know, mate. I could be here today, gone tomorrow, who knows? He goes, well, you'll know when. Someone that's already passed will come and get you. And back a few years ago, for my 30th, we got a bunch of sister girls, real staunch sister girls, where we're called the Shed Girls. Like, we're real classy, we drink in the shed for days, you know. We lock the kids out, but they're fed, so they don't bring welfare. And what was said in the shed stayed in the shed, like you weren't allowed to talk about it. But I'm allowed to talk about this because it happened at a bar called Barry's down on Smith Street. And we were there, you know how black women got to take over the dance floor no matter how packed it is. And we're there doing the circle thing, you know, one goes in, does their little dance. And one of the sister girls come back and bumped the gubbar, the white person, and the white person wanted to fight her. You know, you want to challenge us. We'll fight, not that I agree with violence. So we won, of course. And we went back to the booth and we were there fixing our hair because this fellow wanted to take our photo. And he goes, can I grab a photo? I said, yeah, what local paper that's going in? We were there doing the Facebook pose, like that. And he goes, it's not, it's going at the front door. Next time you girls won't be allowed in. And I've only ever been in hospital to have my children. And I only have my children because of wine. Wine should come with a warning. Lego, no. Because I had the best contraception after that. But one year, my youngest daughter went to the army, and I kept telling her, Mum, I'm not feeling well, you know. She goes, oh, it's only menopause, you'll be right. I said, I went through menopause. I went through menostop. I stopped seeing men. And I ended up in hospital. Robert was the only one that believed me. And what they found was an old copper IUD that I forgot to get out when I had Dawn. So 25 years, that copper IUD was living inside me. And they said, lucky I got there on time, otherwise I could have died. And Dawn's at the end of the bench goes, Mum, imagine if you would have died, you would have been the first lesbian to die of a contraception. I've heard about hoarding, this is ridiculous. No wonder Dad kept chasing me. I said, oh, Dad now. And when they were discharging me, the lady goes, now I'm just letting you know, we took the contraception out, we didn't put another one in. Like, oh, she's so lucky I was high on the bloody methadone. And it made me think, you know, like how many other women, like I can't be the only silly woman in Melbourne, hey, or Australia that forgot about an IUD. How many other people, you know, would have forgot women? And Dawn goes, Mum, you're 50 now, you need to go get that checked, them checked. You got to get all your holes checked. And at the health service, we got stickers on the car. Have you had your health checked? I'm trying to change it to, have you had your holes checked? Holistic health. I'm Denise McGuinness. Thank you.